I would like to welcome today's presenters, Megan Burns, Team Lead, Benefits Strategy at Forma, and Dominique Schroeder, Benefits Program Manager at Guild Education. All right, Megan, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for hosting us. We appreciate you. And we appreciate everyone who joined the call today. I know it is really hard to carve out some time to join these webinars and learn a little bit more about the topics you're most interested in. So we appreciate it. As you know, today we will be discussing the 3 steps you can take to supercharge your benefits on a budget, specifically focused on lifestyle spending accounts. So my name is Megan Burns, like Mike mentioned. I do focus on benefit strategy and solutions over at Forma. Really, that just means I get to work with innovative companies who want to think creatively about their total rewards and benefits programs. So I get to learn about what their overall benefit goals are, initiatives, maybe some past challenges or pain points. So I can help recommend a scalable solution that not only solves some of those challenges, but also provides their employees with a really wonderful experience. I have been in the benefits industry for over 10 years now, previously on the broker consulting side, focusing on benefits planning and strategy, implementations, administration, and everyone's favorite topic, compliance. I am super passionate overall about health and wellness, learning about new benefit trends and data points so I can help make informed decisions and help the customers I support make informed decisions. My goal today, though, is really to just be a resource to everyone on the call and everyone listening. So I want to help educate you not only on lifestyle spending accounts as a whole, but talk through some of the data and benchmarking and case studies we've compiled that we think you'll find helpful. So with that, I want to pass it over to Dominique, my co-host, to introduce herself as well.
Hi, thank you, Megan. So super excited to be here today to talk to all of the HR professionals and benefit leaders in the room. So I do work at Guild. I'm the benefits program manager. And really what that means, it's all things benefits from end to end. I build the strategy to provide inclusive benefits to our employee population. I really want this to be grounded in DE&I. And so to do that, I lead our annual benefits survey, as well as our ERG or employee resource group listening sessions, and use all of that information, including market research, to figure out how we can meet our employees' needs. A little bit about me, I also do leave administration. I've really been working on creating new and innovative leave policies. And when I am not at work doing all of these things for our employees, I am wrangling my 2 little girls. So I am also a caregiver. It's a really big part of my identity. And I am on the pathway to getting my CEIBS. So very excited to be joining all of you today to talk about lifestyle spending accounts and flexible benefits and how you can really use those to enhance your benefit programs.
Great. Well, Dominique, we would love for you to spend a few moments introducing Guild as well. So for everyone on the call, I know I mentioned I'm at Forma, Dominique's at Guild. Guild is one of our favorite clients, and so they have been with us for a while. I want to make sure Dominique has a chance to introduce Guild as a company and talk through what they do as well.
Yeah, so I have a unique position in that I get to do employee benefits at a benefit company. So at Guild, we unlock opportunity for the America's workforce through education, skilling, and career mobility. To do that, we partner with forward-thinking companies, think Walmart, Chipotle, Hilton, Target, just to name a few, to create cultures of opportunity to help attract and retain and build the future of the workforce here in America. So how do we do that? We do it through our career opportunity platform, which really enables employers to invest in their employees by providing them and connecting them with learning programs for career development, one-on-one coaching. They can do anything from certificate programs all the way to getting their master's. And so through our program and through the platform, employees can access schools like SNHU, Louisiana State, and even some HBCUs like Spelman College. And every employee that is a part of our platform receives one-on-one coaching support. And all of this is at no cost to them. So they're not paying tuition or career services on their own, which significantly reduces the financial and psychological barriers to participating in learning programs, which is one of the reasons why I love working at Guild.
I love that. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Forma too, want to take a few moments to introduce who Forma is as a company. So Forma at its very core is a leading provider in flexible benefits or lifestyle spending accounts. And so we work with customers to create customizable spending accounts that meet both their overall benefit goals and their employees' diverse benefit needs. And so you can see we work with some amazing customers. There's some great logos on the screen today. We really wouldn't be able to support these types of customers if we didn't have a hyper focus, not only on employee and employer service, but also an intuitive product. So today we support over 220 customers globally, and there are 450,000 employees. We're in over 110 countries, but by far the statistics I'm most proud of are those related to our service. And so we have a 75 Net Promoter Score, or NPS, that comes directly from administrators like Dominique. And we also have a 98% CSAT, or customer satisfaction, which comes directly from our members or your employees. So while our focus today primarily is on lifestyle spending accounts, again, do just want to mention customizable spending accounts is our bread and butter. We also support health reimbursement arrangements and pre-tax programs like HSA, FSA, and commuter. So in terms of an agenda, so we will spend a few minutes walking through market trends related to lifestyle spending accounts. So first we'll break down really what a lifestyle spending account is before reviewing the data on why employers are choosing to adopt them. We'll then move into a fireside chat with Dominique so she can share more about her experiences working with Forma, why they decided to implement the lifestyle spending accounts initially, what she's learned after implementation, and overall employee sentiment about the program. From there, I'll wrap up the conversation with some data points related to lifestyle spending account benchmarks and utilization, so you can get a sense of how customers are putting these in place. And then we'll save time at the end for Q&A. Even though we have time at the end for Q&A, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the Q&A feature. We do have Danielle on the call from Forma as well. She's going to be monitoring that and may interrupt Dominique and I throughout our presentation, so we can get your questions answered. So before moving into lifestyle spending accounts, what they are, we do want to just get a sense from the people on the call today. How familiar are you with these? Have you heard of this concept before? Are you very familiar, unfamiliar, somewhat familiar? Go ahead and answer that as we move into the next screen. All right. So what is a lifestyle spending account? So a lifestyle spending account, I know I mentioned this earlier, is really just a customizable account that the employer gets to design and fund. So really you get to determine what type of account you want to put in place, what types of goals you're trying to accomplish. From there, you give access to all of your employees, but then they also get to decide how to spend those dollars within the program perimeters that you set up. And so you can think of it sort of as a flexible spending account. But instead of the IRS setting up the program eligibility and the program maximums, you as the employer get to dictate how that program is set up. Another thing to mention here is they don't have to be called lifestyle spending accounts either. So while for the purpose of today's call, we may call it lifestyle spending, flexible benefits, this program can be called a number of different things, and it can be branded and focused on specific initiatives as well. And so let's say you have a specific initiative where you are focused on wellness. We were talking about wellness a little bit earlier on the call. You could design a program that then only reimburses for different types of categories under wellness, like financial wellness, family, social, physical, and emotional. Or if you have goals associated with your caregivers or even upskilling your current population, you can also design programs that only include eligible items specific to that type of account. So let's say you do have a goal associated with wellness, which includes financial, physical, and emotional, and you want to give employees $50 a month. And so you're essentially putting this program into place with these parameters, telling the employee that they then get to decide how to spend that $50 each month. And so the reason that's so important is because employees are so different. They have different needs, they value different things. And so someone who may think about wellness as related to their own physical wellness may decide to use that $50 on a gym reimbursement or running shoes or marathon. Whereas someone who maybe thinks about wellness, like Dominique shared earlier, is kind of keeping her sanity, keeping the house clean. You know, she is a parent and also a benefits leader. Other people may focus on wellness as financial literacy and want to invest in consulting services or tax prep. So really at its core, one of the biggest values of lifestyle spending accounts is flexibility, both at the employer level as it relates to your goals, but also at the employee level to choose to use the dollars on things that matter most to them. So the next question we have, so why are employers adopting lifestyle spending accounts? Why is this such a popular topic? Why is it so trendy? Why are there more and more webinars hosted on what lifestyle spending accounts are? So a major factor of that is due to how quickly the world has changed, especially over the last 3 years, over the last 5 years. All of these major world events have happened that have impacted our economy. It's impacted employees directly and has changed their needs and what they're asking from their employers as it relates to benefit support. And so this has compounded onto HR administrators and benefit teams, where managing multiple benefit programs or perk programs has become increasingly hard to keep up with and costly. But we also know employee benefits and the value of those benefits or employee satisfaction of those benefits is still incredibly important. And so having the right program in place is absolutely going to help continue to support your employee attraction retention goals, keep the talent that you have, which benefits your company's overall success. So what are some fun data points we have on lifestyle spending accounts? So I really like these. I think they're pretty cool. So today we know roughly about 12% of employers are offering some sort of lifestyle spending account. Now, again, it doesn't have to be called lifestyle spending account. Again, it could be flexible benefits, maybe employer stipends, something you have in place through payroll or an Expensify tool. So while 12% are have these in place today, we know through different market research, consulting surveys that 70% are considering adding them for 2024. And so that's a huge uptake. So if you don't have it yet today, just know everyone around you is thinking about, could this be a fit for me moving into 2024? And then based off of that, we're able to estimate that 43% of employers will have some sort of lifestyle spending account in place by 2025. So huge jump there, definitely a market trend for sure. And so if you're asking yourself, you know, what are the reasons employers are really moving into this direction? It's a hard question to answer. There are so many different factors, and because these accounts are so customizable, they're able to solve a lot of different unique challenges. But if I had to choose maybe the top 3 reasons employers are opting into leveraging lifestyle spending accounts to meet their benefit goals, I would break it down to these top 3. And so the first really is attraction and retention. So I think everyone on the call here knows nationally there's a very low unemployment rate. And so that means that attracting the right talent is hard. We also know that employee appreciation of their benefit programs is a huge factor in retention. And if you are trying to attract certain types of individuals, you have to offer them types of benefits in addition to their compensation, so total reward strategy, that's going to be meaningful for them. And so how does that intersect with lifestyle spending accounts? So lifestyle spending accounts are highly valued benefits. Forma earlier last year ran a conjoint analysis with Aon Radford, where Radford surveyed a large population of employees to determine the actual value of lifestyle spending accounts. So lifestyle spending accounts were put up against 16 other of the most common programs and ended up ranking second. So just after a 401k match on what employees want and how they value them. Moreover, Radford was also able to capture that when employees have choice, the perceived value of their overall benefits program is higher. So more choice, more flexibility leads to a 53% higher perceived value rate on the benefit they're being offered. So, when employers are being asked to do more with less, this is a huge opportunity when you think about your attraction, retention, and overall benefit goals. The next bullet I would call out is diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. Obviously a huge topic, obviously something that every employer has goals associated with, and they're integrating not only with their benefit strategy, but their work culture and how they support their employee population overall. And so the slide from earlier, the world's changing faster than ever. We know today we are more diverse and dispersed than ever before. So there's over 5 generations in the workforce. They're all in different life stages. They're all asking for different benefit programs from their HR, their benefits team. And again, it's getting really hard to individually support those asks. So Generation Z may want some sort of pet insurance for their fur babies, while millennials may be more interested in student loan repayment or tuition reimbursement, things of that nature. Gen X, the sandwich generation, they are supporting not only their children, but also their aging parents. So they may be hyper-focused on how you as an employer could support them with caregiving. And regardless of whatever generation the employee is in, everyone is reporting burnout, issues with their overall emotional health. And so trying to find programs that meet all of those needs historically has been really hard. Lastly, with the epidemic of COVID, employers are dispersed. And so we ran a survey earlier this year, over 107 employers, ranges from just 15 employees to over 5,000 employees responded. Roughly 30% were still in office, 30% had hybrid functionality, and 30% were fully remote. And so to layer on to this workplace, your 5 generations, you also now have employees, different roles, not only working in an office, but maybe working from the road, working from home, and you have to figure out how to support their productivity. And last but not least, the last bullet here may be debatably one of the most important, especially as you are working internally with your leaders on getting programs approved, is return on investment for your benefit programs. And so we talked about this a little bit already. We know HR teams are being asked to do more with less. They're being asked to reassess the programs they have in place today to see if they are effective and meeting their goals. So we also know that on average, companies offer anywhere between 5 to 15 point solutions or perk programs. Generally, overall, they're not leveraged to their most of their ability. They have low utilization, low engagement. However, they're pretty costly and they're hard to administer. And so one thing we want everyone to think about on today's call is there an easier way to do this? Is there an easier way to meet our diverse population's needs that both attracts and retains employees, that is budget friendly, and we're getting the value back on our investment? So with that, I think it's a good time to transition over to hear from Dominique about her experience with offering lifestyle spending accounts, what that journey's looked like, and here's some examples about how she's found ROI associated with these programs. And so I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here for a moment as we transition into this portion of the conversation. Yeah, so welcome back, Dominique.
Thank you again for having me. I feel like that slide was like the perfect segue into all the things I'm going to talk about today. So great lead up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to kick things off, we would love to just hear a little bit about the journey, why you originally looked at lifestyle spending accounts, flexible benefits. How did that surface with Guild?
Yeah, so I really love how you talked about they can have different names because we're not new to flexible benefits via stipends. It's something that we had always looked at as an opportunity to provide employees with choice. I think, though, the pandemic definitely heightened a lot of that when we moved to being a remote workforce. We wanted to be able to provide those same amenities that we maybe had in the office. So think lunches, opportunities to connect with folks, whether that was inside or outside, work from home. People had all the amenities they needed right in the office, and now they have to go home, buy a desk. People were working from their couches. And so with that, it really accelerated the need. And so I think that's when we started recognizing that flexible benefits, stipends, dollars were really a way to go to enhance that flexibility and choice. I'll also say we had a growing workforce. So we actually went from 300 employees in 2020 to 1,200 to today. And so with that, the needs of these groups are very different. You talked about Gen Z and Gen X and what they value in a benefit program. And we wanted to be able to meet all of those needs. We have people who are buying, tires for CrossFit, and the other person who is using their work from home dollars for an ergonomic chair. And to your point, that caregiver that's just like, you know what, I just need my groceries delivered this week. I can't go and shop with my little ones in the cart with me. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to offer that flexibility. And then also make sure for me as a benefit leader and administrator that it was easy to do and not taking up a majority of our time and day. So then we can actually support those employees and looking at the data that we're getting in. So, yeah.
No, that's incredible. And I know having them in place and then transitioning to a vendor like Forma is a big undertaking. What would you say was the biggest reason why you were able to get approval to move to a company like Forma? I know you mentioned internal administration was a pretty big lift, but would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, it was definitely, that was our key piece. We actually did an audit and looked at how many hours our teams were like just going and administering these stipend programs. And we found that our accounting team was actually using 75 hours a month to review the claims that were coming in, approve them, make sure that the amounts were within people's allocated budgets, sending that over to our payroll team, working with our previous vendor Expensify. And so it was just taking a lot of time. The other piece of it that we were able to talk to leadership about in building the case to move to Forma was actually the reporting. We did not have very good reporting, so we couldn't see where our employees were spending those dollars. Yes, we could see the tire and the ergonomic chair, but that was coming out of sometimes the cell phone and internet stipend versus the work from home. And so it was harder to track. And so as a benefit leader, it was harder for me to say, oh no, this is very valuable to our employees. See, they're spending it on this because. And so that was really my key pieces that I used to talk to leadership. I'll also say I'm very lucky. Like I said, our mission is to unlock opportunity for America's workforce, and our leaders understand that that is a part of that is making sure that employees can bring their whole selves to work and really looking at the diverse needs. And so we wanted to make sure that that was a part of our culture and a part of our continuing benefit philosophy. But I did have to have a little deeper conversations with our finance team because, as everyone knows, you got to go to them to make sure that everything is good from a budget perspective. And so we had those conversations early and often on what utilization would look like based off of the data that we had. And actually, we anticipated an increase in these programs because of the ease of access and people being able to see the dollars that they would have available when we moved over to Forma. So.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing essentially is the data Forma was able to provide around metrics, spend, utilization, how employees were using the programs is what helped drive partners internally approve the move over to Forma.
Exactly. And again, I think it's also that administrative piece too. Are we spending our dollars the best way that we can? Are we using our employees' time the best way that we can?
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
So once you implemented Forma, I know you had programs in place originally, but did the program design change at all? Once you were talking with our onboarding team, our consultants, were you able to make some shifts? And maybe you could share a little bit about some of those changes and how it impacted your overall benefits goals and employee appreciation.
Yeah, definitely. So as I said, we did have a couple different stipends. So we had a lunch wallet, we had cell phone and internet, and then we also had a wellness wallet. And it was like $15, $30, $50. And it can be kind of confusing for employees to know like, okay, well, I only have $30 here. I only have 50 here. Okay, is this considered a work lunch or like a friend lunch? And so when we did move to Forma, we wanted to simplify and we wanted to provide more dollars for people to use again how they wanted. So we ended up combining those three separate stipends into one to really enhance that choice. If you wanted to purchase and use this for groceries, use the full 80. If you wanted to use it for your internet or cell phone, you have this full dollar amount to do that. And so simplification actually helped our employees to put more towards what they truly valued. Additionally, we have a work from home wallet. And so that we offered $300 to our new hires. We're actually looking to make some changes with that. And I think we're going to talk about it a little bit later as we look at kind of how our programs evolved and the ease of looking and using that data to say, hey, maybe we can use these dollars towards something else that is more valuable. And then the other piece that we did, we actually looked at some gaps that we had in our account manager as well as our broker were really, really helpful in that to say, hey, well, why don't we look at family building and family planning? This is an area that our employees are saying that they could use financial support in. So how can we utilize Forma to help us administer that, knowing that y'all are some of the experts in this space of offering dollars for these things?
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. And we appreciate you sharing that. I know, Dominique, earlier you mentioned fast growth, right? And so, we work with customers all the time that do have fast growth. They're scaling not only in the United States, but outside of the United States. Family planning benefits are hugely impactful. And, especially, how old am I? I'm 34-year-old female. I typically ask that question during any hiring process, like what types of financial support do you provide as it relates to fertility, surrogacy, adoption, things of that nature. And so I know you mentioned earlier you implemented that program due to employee feedback, but did it also help address any of your attraction goals? Did you want to put it into place from a hiring perspective as well?
Yeah, I definitely think, so how we look at our benefits is we truly look at it from like an equity lens. How is this going to support our maybe more diverse or marginalized groups? And is there a program that we have in place for that? And then we kind of say, okay, cool. If our employees really need this and want this, then yeah, we want people to come and join our company. And so let's promote that. And let's say, hey, we are a family-friendly organization where we are going to offer you $10,000 for surrogacy, adoption, fostering, the things that might not be covered under our medical plans. But in addition to that, if you're on an IVF journey, if you are looking at sperm or egg freezing, like here's our full suite. And so I definitely say it does have an effect on our attraction. I'll actually say too, based off of just some survey data, retention is really big for us in looking at this benefit. It was probably one of the top benefits that people have said, this makes me stay at Guild because I might not be in my family planning journey right now, but knowing that this is an offering for when I do start that, it makes me want to continue, and it shows that you value this piece of me.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I know it's incredibly valuable, at least in my experience across different companies I've supported and the different employees I've engaged with. So you also talked about thinking through a lens of supporting marginalized groups as well. Were there any other types of examples or DEI initiatives you were able to integrate within offering these types of programs through Forma?
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit earlier in my bio, something that we do every year is actually host ERG, so employee resource group listening sessions. And what I really appreciate about having what we call our well-being wallet, which functions more like a lifestyle spending account because we have very, very broad categories, is that a lot of the things that people are saying that they need, like, hey, I would love support in traveling to visit family out of the country, or, I need some caregiving support for my grandma in another state. It's been really, really helpful for me to say, like, hey, did you know you can use your well-being dollars for that? One of the campaigns that I'm actually really excited about that we were able to promote was actually looking at doula support, and how we know that if you have a doula, usually that'll help with the Black maternal mortality rate, and how can we assist our employees in meeting those needs, getting that coaching from a maternity specialist in those ways. And so again, our well-being wallets, our spending accounts are opportunities for us to say, yes, we do have this available to you if this is important to you. So,
oh my gosh, that's so great. Maybe we should all go work at Guild.
We love you.
So on this implementation journey, as you were working with Forma to craft these programs and design them in a way that met your benefit goals and needs based on employee feedback, and then your attraction and retention goals, did you come across any sort of challenges or obstacles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest one is just communication. Whenever you lean into something new with employees as well as your leadership, you need to have a clear idea as to how it is going to move forward. From an employee perspective, since we were combining a lot of those stipends, they were like, wait, so can I only use this amount for this and this amount for that? We're like, no, for whatever you want. Like, it's really however you deem well-being. They're like, okay, can I buy a dress for this event that I have? If that's how you deem well-being, yes, that is 100% open to you. So it was just a lot of kind of those initial, like, is this okay? And we're like, 100% it is. And I think just us saying that, people were like, oh, wow, okay, you really do care. You really do think that this is personal and I can use it for exactly what I deem as well-being for me. I think from a leadership perspective, some of the roadblocks, we talked about it a little bit, but it's truly that understanding of what a lifestyle spending account is and how those dollars can be used, and just getting people prepared for what utilization looks like. For us, when having those conversations, I mentioned we had them often and early, but we actually saw a 50% increase in usage from our previous stipends to moving to Forma. And with that, we thought it was great. And our teams thought it was great. Our leadership was like, yeah, this is awesome. But again, finance and accounting, we wanted to make sure that they were aware and understood that, and so that we were able to track and project for years to come.
Yeah, incredible. So you brought up communication. Obviously, change management is huge. How have employees overall been responding to this change? It sounds like they really appreciate the benefits. They're obviously using it more. But have you heard any direct feedback related to the Forma programs or engaging with us directly?
Yeah, so I will say we have about 92.5% utilization each month. So definitely up there. And our employees are loving it. I think what they really appreciate is, one, that it is a transparent view into the dollars that they have available to them, and also the ease of accessibility. So one of the things and one of the pieces that we really wanted to make sure when we were partnering with an LSA provider was that there were multiple ways that people can access these dollars. Again, to whatever met their needs, whether it's through reimbursement because they want those credit card points, or being able to use a pre-funded card so they're not actually putting anything out of pocket. Also, the thing that I really like about Forma is that y'all have a store. And so people can actually just do their shopping right there. If they're not sure what they want, they can say, oh, here's some items. Here are some things that Forma has already put together with discounts and deals. And so we've gotten a lot of really, really great feedback just from the accessibility piece on how easy it is to get and use these dollars. I'll also say, again, I know we're talking about employees, but I'll say for me as an administrator, for me to be able to say, hey, have you chatted Forma today? They'll get back to you within either 5 minutes. And you can ask them all of the questions, has been super, super nice. So it's literally like having a partner and just another person that I can rely on who knows our policies, knows our organization, and also took the time to really dive into our culture. And it's been really great. I feel like half the time they're emailing me to say, hey, an employee asked for this. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but we just wanted to check in. I'm like, oh yeah, the answer is yes, totally. That is fine. Go ahead and approve it. And so just really feeling like it is a true partnership has been great.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love hearing that. And I'm glad you have such a close relationship with your customer success manager and you're able to really lean on the Forma member support team for your employees. That just fills my heart. So a couple other questions for you, Dominique. I don't think we can talk enough about metrics and data. Obviously, it helps you make informed decisions. So when you are accessing this data, how often would you say you're reviewing it? Do you have any recommendations to the people on the call today? Because one of our questions is, when you think about lifestyle spending accounts, one of the incredibly valuable benefits is how agile and flexible they are. So if you put a program in place, you can always make changes based on your needs. We know the world is going to continue to evolve, and knock on wood, hopefully nothing like COVID ever happens again. But if something major does, we have the technology and the team that can support you and make any adjustments to the benefit programs. So how often do you revisit that? And are you considering potentially any changes for this year?
Yeah, so I will say I am a true benefits nerd. I love diving into the data. So I might be looking a little more often than others, but I will look monthly. We actually have we call it cost benefit analysis dashboard internally that I actually pull a lot of the data for our leadership to look at. And the information that I'm looking for is not only spend, but also what are people spending those dollars on. And so if I'm able to see trends throughout each month, what I will then do is quarterly let my leadership know, like, hey, we're seeing a lot of people spending dollars maybe on groceries this month or this quarter, or it could be a mental health provider like Headspace or Calm. And I actually think using that information is really valuable to, one, see what the majority of your employees are spending their dollars on, but then also to help inform future decisions on if you would like to put in a point solution. I know we try to steer away from them just because of the administrative need, and I 100% agree, but I think using your LSA and looking at the data can tell you, oh no, my employees will really, really value this, and give you that extra edge to say it is going to be utilized. So that's how I've been using the data as of today and in the past to really help to inform how we continue to evolve our LSA programs, but also our other programs. Additionally, you can look at it from like a communication standpoint. Hey, I see our employees are seeking a lot of caregiving, maybe through babysitting or using it for daycare. Well, we actually have this in place where you have 80 hours of backup care. So how can we talk about some of our other benefits when we see people spending these dollars on this?
That's great.
Megan, this is Danielle. I just wanted to chime in with a couple questions that are coming through the chat because I think they're kind of relevant to this topic of measuring success. One question maybe both for Dominique and Megan. The question is about the advantage of working with Forma versus giving employees a fixed line item in their sort of paycheck related to LSAs. And then the other sort of question related to that is more broadly just hearing about maybe some of those benefits that you find the most beneficial, I guess, Dominique, from your perspective in terms of the overall LSA program.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Danielle. So I can go first. So the advantage of putting a dollar in a Forma account versus maybe putting that directly through payroll and an employee's paycheck. This is probably one of my favorite topics. I could talk way too long about it, but I would say at the highest level, there's three factors. So the first is employee appreciation. And so what I hear time and time again from employers that we work with is if they do have a stipend in place, maybe they're putting it directly through payroll. Employees aren't aware it's a benefit. And so they end up taking their annual benefits survey where they're saying they don't feel supported on their physical health or their emotional health or their financial health, and they want more from their benefits teams. And so a lot of companies think hitting the easy button is putting it directly into payroll, but what you actually lose out on is an engagement strategy. And so the way Forma measures engagement, so on average, we have 85% engagement. With Guild, it's significantly higher. And I'm going to chalk that up to Dominique's relationship with her employees as well, and how much she pushes employees to leverage Forma. But we define engagement as an employee logging into their mobile app, their web interface at least once a month, and using a portion of their benefit. And so they may not be using the full dollar available to them, but they are partnering with us and using a portion of the benefit. And so through that monthly engagement rate, we're essentially able to remind employees of this really rich benefits program that they have in place, give them 3 spending options. So Dominique mentioned this earlier, but the whole focus of Forma is flexibility, both in program design, but also how employees spend those dollars. So we provide employees with a Visa debit card that is configured based on your program eligibility. We provide a discounted marketplace, which has over 250 vendors that employees can then kind of go into, have that Amazon shopping-like experience, search for ideas of what's eligible, and they can choose to spend through the marketplace or not. And then last but not least, claims reimbursement. So if they do pay out of pocket, they are getting their credit card points, they can just upload their receipt, take a picture of it, get reimbursed via direct deposit within 2 to 5 business days. So that is a long-winded response to your question, but I would say the first factor is that employee appreciation. The second is actually financial ROI. So I do have a couple slides on this a little bit later that we'll jump into. So I'll come back to the actual financial side of it. But at the highest level, employees are not spending on average 100% of what's available to them. So when you put it into payroll, not only do they not appreciate it, they don't understand what it's for. It's also 100% utilization, where with Forma, there is some financial incentive and dollars back to you. And then I know I had a third. So employee appreciation, financial ROI, administrative ROI. So Dominique shared a few examples earlier today, how much time her team was spending reviewing receipts. They use that Expensify tool. If you're putting those through payroll, understanding from your payroll team's perspective, how much time do they spend administering these benefits if they are making adjustments? So those are the 3 highest levels from my point of view. And Dominique, I would love to hear from you if you'd add anything onto that.
Honestly, that is exactly what I was going to say. I think the additional piece is just that reporting. Unfortunately, if you put it on someone's payroll, you're not going to know what they're spending it on. And so to be able to access that piece, I think is really, really valuable.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier, it gives you insights into other types of programs that would be meaningful as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Danielle, I know you had a second part of that question. I think I can see it here, but I guess it was the benefits of also working with Forma. So we touched on just taking the administrative burden off your plate. Also those 3 spending methods for employees. So equity is a huge topic. If you do have a program in place today where it's reimbursement only, or you do work with a partner where there's no card, not all employees have the dollars to spend up front. And so when you think about most Americans today live paycheck to paycheck, they have very low dollars in their savings accounts. You're not aware of everyone's financial situations. Having those 2 other methods, the debit card and the marketplace, just allow for more equitable benefits. Yeah. Dominique, is there anything else you would add to that before we move on?
Nope, I think you said it all.
All right. Well, I promise to come back to more of those ROI questions. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen again. And we can move on to the next portion of our presentation, which focuses on benchmarking. So a lot of times I'll jump on calls and People will hear about lifestyle spending accounts. They'll be really excited to learn more. The most common question I get after that fact is, what types of accounts are most popular and how much do employers fund these accounts? And so across our 220 customers globally, most customers choose to implement that broad style type of lifestyle spending account. And so the parameters of the program they provide are typically broader in nature, and that this gives employees ultimate choice and flexibility. Within that broad type of lifestyle spending account, we do have the top 10 most popular account categories listed on the right. So that includes things like fitness activities, digital health, so things like meditation apps, sleep aids, fitness apps, well-being services, so massages, spa, materials that support massage therapy, fitness equipment, fitness accessories, so a smartwatch, things of that nature, weights, clothing and shoes, food services, which has increasingly become more popular, especially in areas where there's a high level of inflation. But food services as it relates to nutrition and meal delivery, because Dominique said this earlier, meal delivery helps support caregivers. It also helps take some burden off an employee's work-life balance. So they're just able to leverage some of the benefits they have in place today for their home life. Caregiving. So a lot of customers we partner with think about overall support for employees to include family support. So caregiving, not specifically to child, that can also be brought in to include their aging parents, even their fur babies. So dog boarding, dog walking, things of that nature. If you have population in cities where they do go into the office and they're not able to get home in time. Financial well-being is a huge topic as well. So being able to provide additional financial services to employees if they would like, tax prep, financial consulting, student loan repayment, and then skills development. So as you're thinking about your current population, again, a big retention tool. How can you not only upskill your current population, but also make them feel confident in their trajectory and long-term growth at your company? So these are some of the most popular categories under the lifestyle spending account. Other types of popular programs we implement also include a work from home. And so that includes maybe a one-time stipend. I know Dominique mentioned hers is $300 for new hires. It could also include ongoing expenses such as cell phone, internet, utility bills to cover a portion of the cost if you have employees working from home. Wellness and fitness specific accounts. And so again, if your goals are specifically focused on wellness, we can define that purely as physical fitness. We can define it more broadly, include emotional, financial, family, things of that nature. Medical travel increasingly become more of a popular benefit. Learning and growth. So I like to call out learning and growth and tuition reimbursement. It is our fastest growing type of account. A lot of customers today are having conversations related to what can I put in place to really support my overall employee population, again, upskilling them, but also keeping them for the future. And those are two types of programs that do that. You can access more of this information within our benchmarking report. I'm going to keep going through the deck so we have time at the end for questions. But definitely if some come in, throw them in the chat, the Q&A feature, so we can address them. Another question I get is, once we decide to fund this program, what does the funding typically look like? Are we providing a monthly benefit, a quarterly, semi-annually, annually? Well, the good news is you really get to decide. So we can set up this program in any way you would like to. Majority of employers we're working with do choose to set this up as a monthly or an annual benefit. This aggregates all of our data, so it's very holistic. But if you're interested in certain types of programs, so lifestyle spending accounts, work from home, and want to know what the most common types of programs set up for those are specifically, we can tell you. And then another question we get is reset. So are we providing these benefits and allowing them to roll over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, or do we reset the benefit because We really want to encourage employees to stay healthy throughout the year, use their benefits. We don't want any financial surprises at the end of the year. And so we have some data points on that as well. In terms of the types of dollar amounts put into these accounts, so the median dollar amount, or the most common type of dollar amount in a lifestyle spending account, is $900 annually, or just $75 monthly. Work from home, so Dominique is at benchmark here with that $300 for new home office setup. Ongoing, if you were to have an account in place, typically it's around $1,200 or $100 a month to offset the costs of home internet, cell phone, things of that nature. Wellness specifically, so again, if you are carving out a program specifically focused on physical fitness or wellness, however you define it, since those program parameters are a little bit more narrow, the dollars usually come down a little bit. And so that pulls in a median benefit of around $600, which is about $50 a month. And so this is where financial ROI comes in. So going back to that original question, if you're offering stipends in place through payroll, what is the financial incentive to move to a company like Forma? And so what you're looking at on this screen is overall average utilization. And so for that broad lifestyle spending account, even though employees engage with us 85% of the time monthly, we do see the average utilization at 85%. So that's about 15% savings coming back to you financially just by moving this program to Forma. Work from home, the utilization is a little bit lower. So that one-time stipend, 47%, that typically drops because this type of benefit doesn't roll over month, year over year. There's usually a subset of time in which the employee has to spend on that one-time stipend. And then the ongoing work from home benefit is roughly 64%. So $100 a month can be set up to roll over, use it or lose it. Employees can submit for reimbursement for their home office utility bills. Wellness and fitness, again, since the program parameters are more defined, it's not as broad as that lifestyle spending. It has that hyper focus on wellness. The average utilization typically is around 74%. So again, close to 25% savings if you do have, let's say, dollars that you're putting directly in payroll when you move to Forma. And then there's additional programs here on this slide that I'll let you review, either through our benchmark report or follow-up email. So financial ROI, incredibly important. Obviously, your leadership team, your finance team needs to understand the fine print, the figures, the projections of what it looks like by moving to Forma. But in terms of ROI, that's not all I think about. So we talked a little bit about ROI associated with administrative time earlier. Microsoft, for example, is one of the companies we support. By moving from a legacy vendor over to Forma to manage their lifestyle spending accounts, they were also able to reduce their internal questions by 35%. So significant time back. We also have ROI associated with that employee perceived value. So we talked about the Aon Bradford study. I'm happy to share a lot of our customers even manage their own internal conjoint analyses and surveys. Allbirds, Gusto, a few others have shared with us that Forma is actually ranked as their top employee benefit, most appreciated benefit they're offering employees. And then ROI as it relates to supporting a company's overall initiatives and goals. So wrapping this up, we talked about your DIBA initiatives, how these types of programs support your hiring goals, your retention goals. We had one client who decided to implement a lifestyle spending account, but only provide it to those who are enrolling in their HMO plan. The reason that's important is because for this company, their HMO was actually their lowest cost. They couldn't incentivize employees to opt into it through an HSA, but they could through a wellness-focused lifestyle spending account. So that was a really fun project to work on. And then last, ROI as it relates to creating healthier populations. So what I have heard, what I've read is companies are going to self-insurance smaller and smaller these days. Medical premium is just skyrocketing, renewals are increasing, and so the incentive to move to self-insured becomes faster. And so a part of that move is, how can I create a healthier population, which will inevitably lower my overall healthcare costs? And so Josh Burson, Lululemon, another customer of ours, ran a really great study on their lifestyle spending account. Included in that study, that case study, was information related to how much they saved on their overall medical costs by having a physical fitness, they call it Sweaty Pursuits, focused lifestyle spending account available to their employees. So those are just a few ROI examples. I know Dominique ran through these earlier when we were discussing her experience, but wanted to show them again here. I think to wrap up, we do want to leave you with those 3 ways you can supercharge your benefits on a budget using LSAs, especially as they're becoming more popular. So to wrap it all up, first things first, take time to analyze your current perk programs and wellness programs. Are they working for you? Are the dollars being used in a meaningful way? Do your employees appreciate it? Is there high utilization and engagement? And if not, can you think creatively about repurposing these funds elsewhere? The second is really leaning into flexibility and choice. So we know employees value flexibility. We've seen that with both the data we've collected internally at Forma, but also some of the surveys we've worked on with outside vendors. Every employee is so unique. Not everyone is the same. And in this environment especially, it's too hard to manage a benefit that all employees are going to love. So instead, you can really lean into the idea of flexibility of choice, give the employees the dollars so they can decide how to spend it. And I guarantee they're going to be really happy and satisfied with the program. And then lastly, really important, especially as you're thinking about any new programs, you always want to align with all of your stakeholders. So I know Dominique mentioned her financial team, payroll, different other members. So you want to understand what their overall goals are early, so that you can gain support and approval. And we are absolutely here to help. We have a ton of data. We can help put together executive summaries. I will say a fun fact is 76% of our current customers implement Forma with a repurposed budget. So they're not creating new budget for lifestyle spending accounts out of the blue. Instead, they're understanding what the different team members, stakeholders' goals are, thinking, can we leverage Forma's platform and solution in a way that solves these goals? And so, yeah, with that, I know we went over a few minutes. We got started a little bit late today, so thank you all for joining. A few things before we transition into the Q&A. So we will be emailing all attendees. You can expect some follow-up materials from us, some resources, some white papers on a lot of the data points we talked about today. In the email, we'll also send you a registration code. So I am hosting an upcoming live product demo. It's only 30 minutes. You get to see what the Forma portal looks like, what the employee experience is, some employer administrative tools. So definitely encourage you to register for that if you're able to. If you're not able to attend live, but you register, you'll get a copy of the recording. And then last but not least, if you are interested in having support from Forma related to looking at your current perk programs, the utilization, the spend, to see if there are significant savings by transitioning to Forma, go ahead and take a picture of that QR code. You can sign up for one of our business value assessments where we'll reach out, collect some details about your plans, and put together some financials you can review. Last but not least, my email is also listed in this presentation. So please feel free to reach out to me directly. Like I said, I've been in the industry for about a decade. Benefits people are my favorite. Everyone cares so much and would love to, have a conversation with you, talk about some of these nerdy data trends a little bit further and understand how we can help support you and your employees. So with that, I think I'll pass it back over to Danielle to see if we have time for any additional follow-up questions.
Yes, thank you. I will take a couple of questions that have been asked. The first one that I see is about any emerging use cases or trends from people using Forma. Maybe Dominique, if you're able to speak to this one, and then Megan, you can chime in with more context.
Yeah, so I can talk specifically about the trends that I'm seeing internally just with our own program. So something that we had talked about is that we do have a work from home wallet, and it was something that we implemented when the pandemic hit, and we wanted to make sure that people were able to create an environment in their homes that was conducive and comfortable for them to be able to work with Guild. And so from that, we were actually able to see through the data we were receiving from Forma that people weren't actually using the benefit as much as they had in the past. So a lot of our new hires were either waiting to use the funds either a year later, or the funds were just sitting there. And so we actually took that data and said, well, how can we, again, repurpose it? What are some other opportunities to use these funds to better support in the areas that we see people either spending those dollars or maybe spending their well-being dollars? And so that's actually a conversation that we are having internally now, as to see well, do we move this more towards recognition? Do we use it to up our lifestyle spending or our well-being wallet? And so I think it's just nice to, again, get that data, be able to see your own trends within your company and very easily repurpose. I want to say I'd probably talk to my customer success manager more often than she probably likes, because I'm like, hey, can we add this? Or hey, what about this? I saw it online. Is this something that Forma can offer? And usually the answer is yes. So it's been really great.
Yeah, I would add to that, Danielle, at least the conversations I'm being pulled into, probably the top trends I'm hearing about are return to office initiatives. So Dominique mentioned this about repurposing funds, but a lot of customers are asking if we can do any sort of post-tax commuter benefit. So the short answer is we can do pre-tax, we can do post-tax, really whatever your goals are. We can put a program in place to meet those, but return to office comes up a lot. In-office meals and team building too. So companies are really trying to think creatively about how can they put programs in place that support these return to office initiatives, since not every employee wants to, but some employers are drawing a hard line in the sand, and they want to make employees come, but also make them feel supported in the office as well. Another one I'm hearing about, I know I mentioned this earlier, but the learning and development umbrella, whether that be reimbursement for upskilling, whether that be reimbursement for tuition, student loan repayment, ongoing education, certifications, language classes. A lot of customers are asking what types of programs we're seeing put in place around that type of account structure. And then third, as it relates to maybe a broad lifestyle spending account, what I hear, and this is kind of back to the DIBA initiatives. So also I would +1 what Dominique said earlier on doulas. I think that is a huge benefit. Mother mortality, especially in minority populations, is a huge concern. And so what you can do to put programs in place that support your overall population. So mother mortality, but also digital health apps that support neurodivergent employees. So employees who are maybe on the autism spectrum, or employees who have ADHD, or if they have children that are identifying as neurodivergent. There's a lot of tools available out there to help support populations. So those are the top 3 trends I'm hearing about. But would love to hear from you, Danielle, if there were any other last minute questions before we close out today.
Yes, one other one that I saw for Dominique was just about the communication strategy that you had used when launching Forma. So if you could speak to maybe what that looked like, and if there are any specific tools or ways that you communicate on an ongoing basis to your employees, I think that would be helpful to address this question.
Yeah, definitely. So when we first launched Forma, we actually hosted a couple of different webinars. Again, just to showcase the benefit, how to use it. We had live demos, which we found to be very, very helpful. And in addition, when we did first launch, we actually did a little bit of a higher dollar value in our well-being wallet. So Currently, we offer $80 a month. For that first month, we actually offered $150 to really incentivize people to go in and use it and get started with the program so they could realize like, oh, it is truly expansive, it is truly flexible. And we found that that really helped us get a lot of engagement early on. Additionally, we utilize Slack as one of our communication tools, and we hosted just like a mini campaign of saying like, very similar to actually our opening question, if you had this money, what would you spend it on? And just the answers that we got were really great. We had a lot of organic movement in there and people saying, oh my gosh, I would love to go to the movies with you. Like, when are we going? And just little things like that, again, just to foster that community, but also saying like, hey, here are some dollars and ways that you can use your form of benefit. Additionally, for ongoing communications, we do have an intranet site that we keep updated with our policies. And then whenever there is an opportunity to mention, hey, again, we say, hey, you can use your well-being wallet on that. We definitely do. So employee feedback, when they're asking like, hey, I think a Calm subscription would be great for the organization. You say, hey, you should use a Headspace, or you should use your well-being wallet for that. And then if I see a trend, maybe that's something we bring in internally for all of the organization. And so it's really just communicating it often and early, and even getting kind of your own benefit champions internally to say like, oh yeah, I used my Forma dollars on this today or this month, and it was really great.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, well, I think because we're at 12 minutes over time, we'll wrap it up here. But if we didn't get to your question today, we can always follow up with you after. So thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again to everyone who attended live. Again, we appreciate your time, and like Danielle mentioned, appreciate you going over with us. So enjoy the rest of your day. Dominique, thank you so much for joining. So appreciate you, and Mike, again, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Megan Burns and Dominique Schroeder, for sharing your knowledge and time with us. And thank you all for joining us. This webinar will be available for playback for up to 90 days. All you have to do is just to log in to worldatwork.org and access your profile. But please allow 24 hours for that playback to appear. And a reminder that we're going to email a short survey at the end of this event. We highly appreciate your feedback. I'm going to stop the recording now to share the HRCI and SHRM continuing education slides. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Dominic. Feel free to take off. I'm going to share those slides.
Thanks,
Have
Mike.
a great day.